Welcome to episode 218 of the Necronama.com. I am James Sabata, horror author, screenwriter, co-host of the podcast you're listening to right now. And Don, I told them it's your birthday. It's really funny right now. Hopefully that doesn't come back to haunt me.
God damn it, James. You just unlocked some fucking trauma, asshole. I'll get into it in the fucking episode. God damn
Excellent.
you. And I am Don Guillory, author, historian, educator, co-host of the podcast you're listening to. And my advice is never meet your heroes. They'll leave you hanging.
Yeah. I think given who our guest is today, that you should give them like a wrestling entrance. I think that you should use your announcer voice to announce our guest.
Okay. God damn you, James. Ladies and gentlemen, all of you who are assembled here today are going to take part in a life-changing event. Coming to the microphone, the one and only Dwan the Moon Hearn.
Woo! How's it going, guys? That was pretty good.
Yeah, that was mid. I could do better. I was unprepared.
He was.
You
I totally
did,
blindsided him.
God damn you, James.
You did better than Baron Braxton. With the
Oh God, that was horrible. That was
Byron Sexton.
Oh,
you did better than him. Jesus, that hurt my feelings.
I think they were just like Byron. We can't let God damn Samantha's not going to be doing it. We need you to step in. Bad choice. Nothing against him.
Refuses to cover up, so we need you to do it.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't blame her.
This has gone strange places. I love it.
Well, no, I mean, you got to look at it this way. I mean, there is a link, right? So it's the issue of there are rules in certain societies, certain groups, subgroups, subcultures, things like that. And I mean, you could look at Samantha Irvin as the person, kind of the same character that you have with Margot / Aaron, where it's like, you have your rules. I don't want to abide by these rules.
Wow. I am amazed at how you guys pulled that into this movie just now. Wow.
Right.
No, I'm serious.
I'm amazed. I'm legitimately amazed. Yes.
I'd applaud you, but clapping I feel like that would be almost too on the nose.
Yes, Chef. All right. So, Dwan, why don't you tell our listeners a bit about yourself and all that good stuff and explain to them why everything comes back to wrestling?
Oh, no, that's great. I'm actually wearing that shirt right now. I'm Dwan L Hearn. I am a screenwriter, filmmaker, podcaster, the host of the Moon Equals Wrestling podcast. And everything comes back to wrestling because wrestling is the greatest form of theater. And everything wrestling ties into life, and life ties into wrestling. And if you're well versed, you can connect literally anything to professional wrestling. Fair enough. You can honestly connect anything to anything if you know enough about it.
Look, to piggyback on what you're saying, in Mexico they say lucha is life, or I should say la lucha es la vida es la lucha. So
nice.
You got
it.
Oh, also more poignant for this episode, I am a culinary school dropout.
Are you?
You did not know this.
I know. I specifically held that from you guys until just now. I'm a culinary school dropout. And that's one of the reasons why I love this movie so much. Because I've met those motherfuckers. I had class with those some bitches. I knew a Tyler.
I'm so sorry that anybody has to know a Tyler. Yeah.
Wait, you never met a Tyler, James?
Oh, I know too many Tylers.
Oh, okay, I was like, right come
there.
on.
I'm saying I'm sorry anyone has to deal with them. And I would go further
Tyler
and argue that I deal sometimes with the Tylers of the wrestling fandom world as well. So maybe I'll come on your show sometime and talk about that.
You're always welcome.
We tag team that one.
You guys are always welcome on any shows that I do.
Woohoo! So, you kind of answered this already, but why did you pick the menu? Like, what is it about the menu that resonates so much with you on top of what you've already said here?
So there's a thing about food culture, especially if you've ever been a part of that life for any amount of time. If you ever worked in a restaurant, went to culinary school, or just had fancy friends who always took you out to eat. There's something about that that seems so isolated despite how popular it is. You know, you have these food shows where everyone's everywhere. Everyone wants to have like a food tasting podcast or TikTok. You know, there's a guy who became famous on TikTok just from reviewing restaurants from his kid's little chair. And more love to him, but that's just the way food culture is now starting to grow into everything. But I haven't seen it grow into horror yet. And I love the fact that this was done. It was done relatively tasteful. It's not like a weird slasher gore fest. It's done really elegantly, which actually kind of lends to where this restaurant, like the portrayal of this restaurant as a high class, very elegant type of place. And the horror content fits the menu.
Okay.
I like that a lot. I have an ongoing issue with critics in general. Like this is super broad, but like I hate the question, is something worth watching? Like to me, somebody put the work in, and this was somebody's dream, and it was somebody's time and money and whatever else, right? And so is it worth watching to you? I don't know. I can't answer that. Only you can. Is it worth watching? Yes, to somebody.
Right.
And so that goes into further with critics. Like I don't read a lot of reviews and stuff just because it does nothing for me. It never really influences if I want to see something. I'm glad that it helps some people, but I see a lot of the negative shit with it. And I feel the same way with like food reviews, even Amazon reviews. A lot of times I click the 1 star because what you hated might be what makes me like it. So,
That's so true.
So in that way, I guess I appreciate it. But overall, I feel like so much of it is out of hand and very, look at me, I know better than everyone else. And it just bothers me.
I think it kind of depends on what the review is saying. I also look at the 5-star and 1-star reviews if there's a product that I'm kind of iffy on. And the only reason I want to look at the 1-star reviews, because whether you think it's a good quality product or not, if it broke the first time you used it, I'd like to know that. Like I would like to know before I spend $35 on a insert miscellaneous item here. I would like to know if it's going to fall apart in my hand the first time it happens. Did it happen to just you, or did it happen to multiple people? If it happened to multiple people, then okay. Then maybe I'm not going to save my money for a different one of those. But generally speaking, that's the only value I can put on reviews of almost any sort. There's lots of foods that I eat, and a food critic telling me that, oh, this food is horrible. I'm like, you realize I'm eating this today for the 14th time. Like, I love this stuff. So just because you can't handle the taste of it, that doesn't mean it's bad. That just means you don't like it.
Well, there's a lot of pretentiousness wrapped up in it. Because, you know, which obviously we're going to do spoilers with this movie. So jumping ahead and talking about something.
Wait, we're doing spoilers?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
We're not going to spoil your palate, though. So,
well done.
So the idea that there are people out there that want to see themselves as different from everybody else, or at least at a different in an elevated status, right? So they need like those shitty, you know, dive bars or greasy spoon places to go ahead and demonstrate that they're better than the rest of them. I don't eat at those places. This is where I eat. I eat at this 5-star place, this Michelin place, this whatever it is, where you barely get any food on the plate because they're so concerned with what's the term, like gastro micro, whatever the hell it's called.
Microgastronomy.
Yeah, where it's just, we just want to get a sample of the flavor. We want to be able to understand. Motherfucker, I want to eat. My concern is when I go to a restaurant is what does the health department say about you? Because if it's an A or a B, I'm still going to eat at a B place because I've worked in different jobs where the health service was involved and they would ding you for things like, oh, you had cleaning spray on a counter, 5 points. It was never like, oh, you got contaminated food. It's like, oh, well, your mop station is like two centimeters too close to the ice machine. You're like, what the fuck is it? So you can go in and you can read for the dings that people get, but if you got an F, it is pretty much a biohazard that needs to be shut down, right? Those are the reviews I care about. I care about, is it safe to eat there, and then is there a line? Because I noticed that the places that are exclusive, they don't have a line for a reason. It's you have to reserve so far in advance, or you have to know somebody to get into that place. Whereas if it's a place like a food truck or a restaurant or a mom and pop shop that has a line, I'm like, that's the review that's gonna satisfy me. Is there a fucking line? Are there people that like this?
Oh, absolutely.
As opposed to, is this something that's exclusive and this is something that is just for these people with a lot of money, access, power, privilege? So when the end of the movie hits, I'm like, fuck yeah, way to go, chef.
Yeah,
they took your passion away. And yeah, go ahead.
2 things really fast. The line thing. Roscoe's Chicken in LA. Holy shit. I stood in line for like 95 minutes, I think, and it was fucking phenomenal. Totally worth it. But the second time I went, people were already lined up 2 hours before it opened. And if that's not the review you need, I don't know what is. And then you're talking about the exclusiveness and all that. It's also the look at me factor. And because everything comes back to wrestling, when WWE goes to Saudi Arabia, the front rows are people not even fucking paying attention to the matches.
No,
because it's all look at me, look at where I am, look at what I can afford. No love for what's happening, no love for the art. And that ties in so heavily to this movie. That's what I feel about a lot of these places and a lot of these critics.
Well, to bridge this connection between wrestling and food, right? When you're talking about sports themselves, because there are a couple of comparisons or a couple of discussions about sports, or at least that are made in the film. Or maybe I just imagined it because I was thinking about the way it connected. But anyway, I remember there was a commercial back in the 90s where there were these people that were taking the tickets, right? And it was like these rich people that were going to sit on the sideline, because this became a thing with the LA Lakers and Jerry Buss, where he's like, no, I want celebrities to sit courtside. I want these seats to be so expensive, like regular people can't come and buy a ticket to sit courtside. But someone made a commercial in the 90s. I can't remember which company it was, but they made a commercial talking about how there were these kids that, spent their last $15-20 to go to the game. And then someone switched their tickets because they saw these pretentious rich assholes wanted to sit courtside. They're like, oh no, sir, these tickets actually take you up here. So they switched them with the nosebleed seats that these kids were in, so these kids could get that experience, that fun, because they appreciated what was going on. Whereas they would have, in the words of the chef, they would have enjoyed the meal. They would have savored it. They wouldn't have just eaten it. They wouldn't have gone to, in fact, these people aren't even eating. It's simply, oh, look at the food. This is so wonderful. Let me take pictures of it. Oh, let me write about it. Let me go ahead and shit on what's going on here. As if they had, were the ones who were skilled in making any of this stuff.
Don't get me started on people taking pictures of their food.
Oh no, we're getting started. Dwan gets the hot tag.
Oh, Jesus. The idea that I have to get my plate and then you smack my hand to stop me from eating so that you can take a picture of it. You understand I am sitting here because I'm hungry. Don't stop me from eating. And you see this all the time. I'm out somewhere, and I'll actually connect this to music. I was just having this conversation with some other friends of mine. I love going to concerts as well, and I love live music. And one of the biggest complaints that I have in going to live music is that everybody wants to record what's happening for social media. It's that look at me factor you mentioned before. It's a, oh, look where I was. Oh, look what I'm doing. Oh, look what I've got. Oh, look what I'm eating. Look who I met. Look what I know. It's that look at me factor, and it happens all the time. I can't tell you how many times I've watched a concert through the phone screen of the asshole in front of me. And I know I did not spend a couple $100s on tickets, drive 6 hours out of town to stand on my bad leg in this theater so that I could watch this concert from a band across the ocean through your fucking phone. Sit down, sir. That actually happened to me once.
I can tell. Yeah.
I was going to say, I was having trouble determining whether or not that was a real experience.
It was a work shoot, brother.
But that's the thing. Like, you miss out on the experience because there's so much of this. Hey, I want to share the experience I'm having with other people. And George Carlin had this great bit where he was like, "Why are you taking pictures on? Why are you taking video on vacation? Like, enjoy the fucking vacation. Take a picture here and there, but you're probably not going to." And this is still back with film. You're probably going to take forever to develop that film. But then what are you going to do? You're going to look at the photo. You're going to show it to other people and talk about how, great this experience was. But you didn't actually get to experience the experience because you were looking through your viewfinder or looking through the lens to take all these photos. So, like, years ago, I made it a mission, a personal mission, where it's when I start a vacation or I start a trip or whatever, I immediately have this conversation with myself where this is the first day. Enjoy your time while you're taking this break, because then you're going to have to go back to work and go to enjoy what you're doing, as opposed to go do this thing, get so busy doing all these things that you never enjoy what you're doing and never actually take advantage of the purpose of taking a break. And that's kind of what this eating is. It's become a showcase of, I'm going to go back to just being pretentious. It's a showcase of pretentiousness. It's, look at how awesome I am. Not how awesome the food is, Moon. It's how awesome I am, to follow up with your point, how awesome I am to have this experience, as opposed to let me enjoy it.
Is this me?
Boo. Boo.
As your stunt double, I mouth the words over here, just so you know.
I appreciate that. No, it kind of fits into, you see this dynamic. Like, you normally would watch this movie and you'd see the dynamic between Margot and Slowick. But really, I like to focus more on Slowick versus Tyler. Because one of the first things that Tyler does when they get on the boat, I'm skipping everything before that, but when they get on the boat and they get that first little oyster dish, very first thing he does, takes a picture of it, and then he starts rattling on about it to Margot. And the first thing he does when they get into the restaurant is he wants to take a picture of everything. But one of the things that Elsa tells him is like, hey, please don't take pictures. Chef believes that the menu only truly exists in the form that it's in. Like, be in the moment with this food. And Tyler is still so caught up with, oh, I have to capture this. Which, hold that thought for a second. He's so caught up on, I have to capture this. I have to save this photo. I have to take a picture of this. Spoiler alert, he knew those fuckers were going to die. Who was he saving the picture for?
Yeah.
Now, maybe that's a plot hole thing, but who is he taking these pictures for? He knows good and well that no one's coming out of this. Unless he's like immediately posting it on Instagram or something. Why was he even bothering to take the pictures?
That's what I took it as. I took it as he was posting it, but you never see him post it. So maybe he wasn't. Maybe it's just that much of who he is, and the fact that that's what he understands of food. Like, clearly, when we get to the scene where he gets to cook, things go
Oh, yeah.
sideways.
It
So
sure does.
this is what he understands about food. So that I don't. It doesn't feel like a plot hole to me. It just feels like Tyler's a douche. I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
know.
Tyler is definitely a douche. I think you're right. Piggybacking off what you said, maybe it's just such a natural thing for him to do because he has to be so showy with everything, showy about
Mhm.
his knowledge, showy with, he has to like, ooh, is this bergamot? And I don't even know what bergamot is. Is that like a leaf? I don't know. So I didn't stay long enough for bergamot. But but that's the whole thing. He has to be so showy with everything, and that is just it. Probably is just part of his nature. He just can't help himself.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, James. I'd be remiss if I didn't say what bergamot was, but because he will get me for you worked 3 years at Bath and Body Works. I know they had bergamot. It's a flower.
So it's a leaf. Okay.
Yeah, it's a flower.
I love that. That's where you went with it. That's fantastic.
Well, I do. That's what you were gonna be like, son of a bitch. I know you know what it is. It's flower / herb, kind of the same thing as like honeysuckle flowers, where you can use them for tea and stuff like that, or even
The only times I went in there when I was growing up was the girls I was dating, and for some reason they all had a thing for whatever the jasmine one was. So that's the only one I know.
Really?
So there you go. Yep.
Not cucumber melon.
Nope.
Wow.
White blonde girls in Nebraska were all the same. Anyway, so I didn't say that.
All right. Well, you know what? Even the idea of you talk about Tyler, right? Tyler goes so far as to hire somebody to pose as his partner or as his date for this event, right? And I love how Chef even points out, it's like you knew what was going to happen, and you didn't. The person that you were with broke up with you, but you brought someone else. And he's like, well, I understand because the reservation was for 2, and you only seat 2, 2 or more. And I was thinking, like, this guy is pathological. It's like I not just that he knows that people are going to die, but he invites somebody there and uses them as access to get in, because he doesn't seat singles. You need somebody else there. And it's such a weird, I don't even want to call it a test, but it's just such a weird way in which he goes about this, which is, I know someone's going to die, so I'm going to bring somebody who I have no value for, other than the monetary value I've spent for this person to be with me for the evening. And I love, and I should have mentioned this earlier, I love that this movie makes me hate the dialogue. And I mean hate the dialogue as far as like how good the writers were at delivering hints along the way of what was going to take place. And you don't really see it fully until you watch the movie a second time, because Taylor makes these comments like, I'm sorry, Aaron / Margot makes this comment early on when Tyler's talking about, you shouldn't be smoking because smoking is going to ruin the flavor, blah, blah, blah. And she says, well, it's your dime. And immediately I'm thinking like, oh, it's because he's paying for dinner. And then you get to the end of the movie, you're like, motherfucker, he hired her to be his date for that night. And all these moments in which you're like, holy shit, she definitely does not deserve to be here, because she gets used and abused. And even the point where she says, I used to like what I do, but people ruined it. Just because I have a friend of mine who did a documentary on sex workers, and I guess, for lack of a better term, they're pimps. And he was telling me last year about when he had been out in Vegas and LA and doing the work for this, and just talking about what these women went through and how the men, the pimps played them, and the way that they dehumanize them to a certain point where they didn't understand the value of who they were. And I don't mean as far as like the value of their life, but the idea that they've been beaten down by that system so much where it's like, I got into this because I wanted money, but I also like sex. And he did the same thing. I think he also had sex workers who worked in the adult film industry. And it was the same thing where they got in for the money, but also got in because they enjoyed sex, but then it became so desensitized where they didn't like it anymore. And that's what you see, that connection between Aaron / Margot and Chef, where he loved doing this. It's these other people who took advantage of him or gave him a bad review or felt like they owned him that ruined what he wanted to do with his life or what the experience is that he had with it. Yeah. I mean, there's so many layers to this movie.
You know what's funny? Since you mentioned that, and the way you were telling that story brought this to my attention, there's actually a deeper connection with Margot being a sex worker and this whole like pimp connection. So when you started telling that story, I was remembering like one of the jokes by Dave Chappelle. And when he told the story about reading the book Pimp from Iceberg Slim. And in that story, he talked about basically how he, like you said, the pimps will manipulate the sex workers to completely devalue themselves and just find only their value in their pimp. Never made that connection until now. Slowick is the pimp in this story. And they're not sex workers, they're food workers. But the cooks have all just decided this man is worthy for me to die for.
Right.
Slowly, because he's bitter. He's bitter. He no longer wants to do this job anymore. He's tired of dealing with these pretentious people. He's willing to die. And because I no longer value myself as a person, I'm willing to die too. And this whole movie has that, connection, that same connection. Oh, it's a pimp.
I like that a lot.
Well, and you've also got that positioning, right? So he's their pimp, but he's also, for lack of a better term, he's also the whore. So you have that duality where, he's been used by all these critics, these business, icons, the idea of like the fucking dad, and I don't even remember his name, but Judith Light's husband, like the idea that they have been there 11 times, like 11 times that you've interacted with this man, spent this money for this experience, and you can't remember a single thing you ate.
The Lee brands. There's some Lee brands.
Yes. You've done this all this time and you have no idea. And it's kind of that same thing as far as like if he had been if he had been a prostitute or a call girl, an escort that they had called on and had dealt with her so much, or him with so much, because you don't have to be it's not linked to gender as far as your with sex work itself. If they called someone, spent 5 times, 10 times with them, whatever, even if you have a small time of interaction with that person, you've met them 11 times, you would remember something. Like, I'm sure the husband, if he had gone to Erin 11 times, he would have remembered like how her hair was, how she smelled, these things like that, right? But because this experience is so insignificant to them, other than the fact that they can do it, it means nothing to them. It means nothing.
Can I pick back off that?
Yes.
So he's been to that restaurant with his wife 11 times. They get served at least 5 to 7 dishes while they're there. It's a multi-course type of situation. They couldn't name one single dish. Qualify that 55 to 70 something dishes, right?
Right.
He was with Aaron once, recognized her from afar.
Yes.
But when he recognized her from afar, as you learn, that interaction with him and Margot was very intimate to him. Not so much on a physical level, but because he connected her with his child. And it was a very personal situation there. Clearly, he had father issues and whatnot. But in that, he recognized her from afar and was so impacted by her presence that he switches seats with his wife when they get to the restaurant. He's like, no, I want you to sit here. I want you to sit here. So that his back was to her. So he didn't have to see her. That shame. He felt that shame. He remembered that shame. But he couldn't remember any of the 55 to 70 something dishes that he had in that restaurant. That just goes to show how little he valued Slowick, his work, his art. When you get into culinary arts, it truly is an art form. When you are able to look at these elements and you're able to put them together, when you start looking at a full recipe, a full dinner service from start to finish, it is mastery. I mean, we see it on Food Network all the time, but it truly is an amazing way to turn even just changing a simple ingredient in a dish. Like if I have a beurre blanc sauce that I make and I was taught to always use lemon juice, I switched it with pineapple juice. It adds the sweetness and still has the same acidity that you're looking for. But the application that I was using it for, the sweetness really helped. It counteracted with some of the saltiness from the other ingredients that I had. So just those little nuancy things, they matter. And when someone learns about it, they try it for themselves, it impacts them, it affects them. It has that same emotional connection. But he had such that show me factor we were talking about earlier, that look at me. Oh, we've been here several times. We don't want to take the tour this time. That's what the Lee brand said when they got to the restaurant. We'll skip the tour this time. We'll just go. Now, mind you, Elsa is on par. She's the shit. She's always good at what she does. So she would have known if the Lee brands never take the tour. Clearly, they've taken the tour at least 10 other times. And this is the time that they're deciding to skip it. And it seemed like don't worry about us. We'll just skip it this time because this is the exclusive time. And it's all in that show me factor, that whole look at me, that I'm important. See me, make sure you feel that I'm important. I need that grandeur. I need that 2-minute 47 long entrance at the end of Crown Jewel. That's what I need. Yes, I timed it.
Right.
I actually timed Roman Reigns' entrance.
Should have timed Rhea's.
I couldn't.
It lends in the we're still superior to everybody else because sure, you're here, but we've been here so many times it's boring. And then you add in how easily this, like, I don't remember when he notices Margot the first time, but like it could have had something to do with that as well, like get away from her. The switching chairs interests me because Chef, I feel like he should have come out and made them switch back to make him more uncomfortable. It's one of those little tiny nitpicky things that I just want him to move him and make him more uncomfortable again. I think it's fine, but yeah.
I think if Slowick knew that Margot was coming, he probably would have done that. Right. She wasn't part of the original plan.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So they didn't have the chance to necessarily research. Even the other woman in the pictures from the Taco Tuesday dish, great story. I love that part. But even from the Taco Tuesday, when they had the pictures of him and the other woman, I don't think that was Margot, but I think it was just some other woman. And
that makes sense. I took it as Margot. So okay, no, that makes more sense. No, I like it more if it's not, because then he's done this repeatedly.
Yeah. Because again, no one knew that Margot was coming. That's why everything was so thrown off. I think I can't remember when he noticed her. I know when she noticed him when they got out of the car and they were getting on the boat. But I can't remember when he first reacted to her.
Yeah.
See, this is
No,
one of
you
those
blew my
things why
theory
you go
apart
back.
with the tacos. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, no, I still think it's her in the taco imprints or the printing on the taco, only because they were researching the guests that registered to come. So we're researching everybody here, whether it's Anne and Richard, the older married couple, or the finance bros, or anybody else, right? Everybody has a purpose for being there. So Margot, where I would argue she's in the picture, she's not the subject of the investigation or the subject of the research, because we want to show a reason why Richard is a bad person and why he deserves this, but also, demonstrate to his wife, like, hey, you never believe what he's been doing. So I see it as that, and the reason why, of course, they don't know that Margot Aaron is coming is her name isn't even on the list. It's the other date that Tyler had, so they were prepared for her. It was never a thing of, hey, here's this last minute guess. Let's go to the good old Google reverse image search and figure out, who she is. Lo and behold, she's on one of our tacos. But I do agree that it does seem as though this guy's been doing it before, or has done this before, at least once before. But only once with her, at least from the indication, because she explained like what he wanted, what he did. Yeah. But you know what, the critic, let me go to that part with I think her name was Lillian, the critic. Yes. They pissed me off every second of this movie. Every fucking second. Because for them it was all about, oh, look at, and even the assistant, right? The assistant is the typical yes man, where it's like, oh, I tasted the flavor. Oh, yes, me too. Oh, notice there's a little bit of goat at the end. Oh, yes, I detected it. Is it in the milk? I despise that part of any culture where it's like, here's this very obscure thing. Or in our case, since we're all wrestling fans, here's this very obscure wrestler from 1987 that wrestled at this one pay-per-view. You can't call yourself a wrestling fan if you don't know that guy. You never saw his matches. You never saw, Hulk Hogan do it New Japan. Wow. You call yourself a fan of wrestling? That would be like saying, like, if you don't grade your food the way we do it, that means you don't like eating.
Oh, the greatest prize in our sport is clearly the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, and I like the 5th generation of the belt far better than any of the other ones.
Do you think it needs a spinner? Anyway,
wow.
No, I totally agree with what you just said, Don, and the fact that you brought it into wrestling the way you did is hilarious to me.
Because everything comes back to wrestling.
Absolutely. I see it so much in like cons that we're at too. Like there's always like some kid in like an anime costume who's like, do you know what I am? And it's like this offshoot character that was in one episode for like 2 minutes. And it's like, no, dude, I wouldn't know the main character. And this kid's like grilling me on telling me what this stuff is. And oh my God. And I just realized how much that happens in like movie world, where we're like, oh, you didn't see this Korean film that blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? And it's so weird how that's like the trump card people use for whatever they like, whether it's rattling sports scores from the last time the Cowboys won the Super Bowl, which was like Super Bowl -4 or something. And, just everybody does it. Like I do it with wrestling stuff. Like I find it fascinating. As you said that, it just like clicked to me that everybody does it in some way. Mm-hmm. And we all use it as like this, I know it a little more than you do, or I know some fascinating thing that you don't know about it or whatever. And yeah, I love
You don't know who the Blue Meanie is? You
Wow.
don't remember the BWO? Really? Really?
I
You
tried
call
to get him
yourself a
on the
wrestling fan?
show.
Ugh.
I legitimately tried to get him on this show because he tweeted about a horror stuff. So I wrote him and he didn't respond. So there you go. I got jobbed out by the Blue Meanie.
That's hilarious.
He blew you off.
I guess you could say I blew myself.
What does everybody want?
That deserves a new start.
So everything comes back to Arrested Development. No. Anyway.
All right.
Everybody
Hello.
wants head chef.
That's right.
Oh,
Head chef.
Head chef.
Okay, throughout this movie, I love the stories that he's giving with food, especially the bread one, because he gives this long monologue about bread and how essential it is to life and how many people throughout the world and how much of agriculture is grain and Jesus and all these things, right? And he's like, bread is of the common man, and you all are not common people, so you're not going to get any bread. And they all, and I love how he insults them and compliments them, or at least tries to stroke their ego at the same time, saying, you guys aren't common people, you're better than them. And the way that, pardon the pun, pardon the phrasing, the way in which they eat that up, right? It's oh, this is great, but fuck you, I want my bread.
Yep. Yeah, this is all cute though.
It's like you can't deny us things.
Yeah,
We're
you can't tell me
special.
I can't have something.
Right.
I love that the card literally says the bread you will not be eating.
Yes. I laughed. So I was on the first time I watched this, I was on the plane, and I was laughing throughout this movie at all the ways in which they fuck with the guests. And you don't know what, I mean, if you go into this movie, without spoilers or without rereading anything, you're not sure like what the ultimate end is going to be. What's the ultimate payoff? What are we trying to get to? And I was convinced early on. I'm like, oh shit, he's going to serve them up. Like they're going to become a meal. Like they're going to cut, he's going to start making them eat each other or some really dark shit. And the ending that they give is very rewarding. And I would say very comforting as well, but it's very rewarding because you're like, holy shit, this is actually more poetic and kind of like what you were saying, Moon, the idea that it's an art as far as the way the food is prepped, the way the food is going to be made, the way the food is plated. It is art. And I'm not just going to make you food. I'm going to make you an artistic experience. And the fact that they all are kind of resigned to their fate. And I can't remember which, I think maybe Judith Light's character says, thank you. But I remember somebody, in fact, it was her. She says, thank you when she realizes what is going on. And I'm like, God damn, like this guy is not just persuasive, but this guy is outstanding to not just get all these chefs involved in this plot, but also to get at least one of the guests, if not all the remaining guests, to understand, that this is their penance. This is their penalty for all the shit that they did. Now, I ask you this question. Yes, James, I'm doing questions.
I had no idea. I'm caught off guard.
Who would you invite to this dinner? Or who would you suggest were to go to this dinner? You have 2 free tickets. You give the tickets to 2 people.
Oh, can I take this one?
Go ahead.
So I got this new book out. It's called Trumpus. It's about a Krampus-like creature who declares himself the king of Christmas after Santa is mysteriously slaughtered on Fifth Avenue. And if Trampus, good Lord, if Trumpus,
that works.
Yeah, anyway.
That's the sequel.
There you go. Well, if Trumpus was a real person instead of an imaginary Krampus-like creature, I would take him because he seems like the embodiment of all evil. Seems like the kind of guy that would want ketchup with his well-done steak, just making Chef fucking insane over here. Yeah, I would definitely, even if we had to go together because you can't send single people, dude, I'm going out with the best day ever. So that's my answer.
Wait, Moon, before you go, I can
we
just
already know my
imagine.
answer.
I could just imagine that character's interaction with Chef, where he's like, "I want ketchup." He's like, "But you cannot have ketchup, and we do not serve ketchup with this meal." Like, it would be worse than the financial bros who's like, "No, dude, give us some bread. We want some bread.
I don't
We want some
know
bread."
what kind of establishment you are running here, but I know that you have ketchup, you have tomatoes, and whatever else. I demand that you bring me ketchup.
Yeah, I feel like that is the absolute embodiment of the kind of person that should go to this. Moon, I can't imagine that you dislike anyone enough to want them to come to this. So throw me a totally random name that there's no way I can possibly
not a blonde guy who currently lives in Puerto Rico.
I was thinking,
take advantage
will he
of
arrive on a
taxes.
dune buggy?
I was thinking long and hard about this, and I couldn't think of a single solitary soul, but then it just hit me like a buckshot. It hit me. Logan
Page.
Paul,
United States
Logan.
champion, Logan Paul.
Future Hall of Famer.
Hey, now watch it.
You know it's coming, man.
No,
I'm just amazed that Don went further than me.
They put Kid Rock in the Hall of Fame. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame.
The fact that Kid Rock,
the
fact that Kid Rock and former United States President Donald J. Trump are all members of the WWE Hall of Fame. Yes,
you don't want to be there.
But
how did I miss that? How did I miss that I pulled in wrestling? God damn it.
Yet they wanted to take out Hulk Hogan. That's the whole thing. You know what? I'm going to say that for my show, Moon Equals Wrestling, that's on Thursdays.
Who are you bringing, Don?
Well, I know I said two people, and you guys keep saying one.
I'm going with him. I want to make sure this happens. I will sacrifice myself for the good of the world.
How about this? You give a ticket.
Their hamburgers.
You give a ticket to Trumpist, and I'll give the other ticket to Logan Paul.
Oh man!
And now he's trying to have redeeming qualities because he saved Rey Mysterio's life. Whatever.
So Don, who's going with the person that came to one of our panels once?
Wait a second. Which person are we talking about who came?
Never mind. Doesn't matter. So
are you talking about somebody? You're talking about someone who?
I would never take shots at anybody that you may or may not have made vows to at some point in your life. Now then, I want to know who would you send to this?
Okay, I'm not going to send the person you think I would send because, Anyway,
yeah,
I would send. And the thing is, I'm asking a question I didn't even think about answering. Son of a bitch. I would send Taylor. No, I'm just kidding. Because that will awesomely end the show where all the Swifties come after us.
You have. So what was the last episode of the Necronomicon?
Elon is an easy get because I feel as though I would send him, but I would need a recording of the event because I would love to sit him there saying like, "Oh yes, the Paco jet. Oh yes, I invented that back when I was in grade school, but I never got the credit for it." But I could just imagine him just trying to bullshit the entire night about who he is and what he like. The bread thing would be, "Oh yes, I understand." Like I see him as being a combination of the food critic and her assistant. It would be, "Oh, no bread. Oh, yes, that makes perfect sense. Of course. We're gonna taste the flavors without the bread because the bread is gonna ruin the taste of." Like, just shut the fuck up, dude. You're not smart. You're not smart.
Elon's the movie star.
I have
we've not talked about John Leguizamo.
Oh, we're gonna talk about John.
We're getting to him.
I'm chomping at the bit for that. Yeah.
You mean Steven Seagal?
Yep.
I love that he played Steven Seagal in 2 movies back to back.
I love that he's not quiet about it. He doesn't do it to
Like,
entertain himself. He's like, "Oh yeah, I based that character on Steven Seagal because he's a fucking douchebag." I love that. It's amazing. Dwan, I don't know if you know this. I am utterly obsessed with Leguizamo. He's one of my favorite actors ever. He is one of the people that I would love to be real life friends with. I adore everything I've ever seen him in, and his comedy has like it's like evolved with me. Like you go back to Pest, and like that's where I was, and now you're on the social commentary, racism, and that kind of level, and that's where I am, and I feel like. I literally I feel like I'm one of his biggest white male friend or fans ever, because I feel like a lot of people that I know would be like, oh no, not that guy again, and not me. I've learned so fucking much from him, and I don't know if either of you have seen his show Leguizamo Does America. Fucking amazing, so good, and I love that it's basically mentioned in this movie. It's a fucking food show in some ways, and it's a cultural show in some ways, and it's very much about Latino influence on different cities, and you can't not have food with that. So when he's talking about this show he wants to pitch, I'm dying laughing because I'm like, I love that show. and this time I noticed that he throws in, and then I'd have to talk about racism, and I fucking lost it. I was like, yeah, that's your show. That's amazing. But yeah, so that's all. I just really love John, and I think everyone should watch every single thing he's ever been in. There you go.
Speaking of Johnny Legs, you have to go back and watch some of his early stand-up. Just Google. I'm not going to repeat the titles, but anyway, the one-man shows that he did back in the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
Just timeless. But in this movie, because it's him, like, I don't even want to hate the character, but you should, if that makes sense. Like, you should despise this guy because everything is about him. And he's way past his prime. Like, and Chef even says, like, I saw that movie. It was the only day I had off in 6 months. And I was like, oh, I'm going to enjoy a trip to the cinema. And you lost your passion. You lost your passion for what you do. And one of the things that I can't remember which actor or producer or writer said this, but basically an actor can take any script. A good actor can take any script, no matter what level of script it is. They can take something that scraps and turn it into a masterpiece, no matter what it is. Even if you get a bad script, which, he's like, well, I didn't, so-and-so directed that movie and this person wrote it. It's like, but you acted in it. The fact that you are presenting this character, you should still be presenting it with all of your ability. You should still be presenting it with, all the training that you've had, all the experience up to this point, to where the people that are paying their money to come see you don't see somebody who's just phoning it in or just took the job because it was offered to them. And when Chef makes this point to him about, like, you just, you didn't have any passion in what you were doing. Like, I wasted my time on you. And we've all seen those movies where it's very clear, like, what the fuck did I just, like, I spent an hour and a, excuse me, I lost an hour and a half or 2 hours of my life because of this poorly made film or poorly acted film or whatever else is going on. By the end of it, you're like, what the hell did I just watch? I don't understand. And not in an artistic way of like, I need to go home and really think about what was presented. You watch it and you're like, I have no idea what the hell I watched. I have no idea what happened.
I love when you get the opposite of that. And you're like, there's no reason for Ray Liotta to do a great job in Cocaine Bear. And then you watch Cocaine Bear and you're like, holy fucking shit, why? I love it, but why? What made you do this? And then it's his last film, and maybe that's it right there, right? Like, maybe it's if I'm gonna do this, I have to do great. But like,
right,
I do find it fascinating when you watch like a B movie or you watch like just something that's not supposed to be great, right, and then actors still 100% do it. I had to throw it in because I thought it was. I don't know. It's one of those fascinating things to me versus, the opposite of just showing up to collect a check.
Right. And you get that even with the critic. And I don't mean just the film critic here, but I mean the everyday critic of a film, right? And I kept writing in my notes that pretentious, right? And what I'm looking at is the way in which people talk about things like elevated horror. And I'm sorry if you're somebody who goes around and says, well, I don't watch I don't watch regular horror. I watch elevated horror. You're being pretentious at that point. And I don't mean as far as like people who make quote unquote elevated horror. I mean the people who's like, I'm only watching this because this filmmaker understands how to make a horror film.
Absolutely.
They're making something that you are only liking because it's not what everybody else likes. It's this very niche thing where I only like these movies that are made this way because it's about, the symbolism, the metaphors, the allegory. It's all this stuff that is there. And you miss out on the reality that those same things are in these other movies that you shit on. And those same flavors, those same things that you have in this meal, you're going to have at a Greasy Spoon as well. In fact, you're probably going to have a better experience at a Greasy Spoon diner than you will at, some Michelin rated place. I would make the argument this way. If you're going to a place that is just there because it's Michelin rated or it's the go-to place because it has a name, you're only going there because it is rated a certain way. You're going there for the status. You're not going there for the meal. And that's what all these people are doing for the most part. Aside from Aaron, they're going to this place because it has meaning. It has this exclusivity of no one else can come here because it's $1,200 a seat.
Clout.
No one else is coming here. There's a wait list, and you have to be this type of person. You have to have this much money, and it's an experience that, to quote MJF, because we're going to take everything back to wrestling. It's not for the poors. It's not for the working man. It's not for the people that would have been eating the bread. And I love that. Yeah. And I love that about this. Like I am angry at how good the writing, the dialogue, the delivery of this movie is. I am like pissed off at how good it is.
Interestingly enough.
Yes.
Oh, go ahead.
No, please.
So when it was me and James talking about scripts that led to us talking about this movie in the first place. And one of the things I was saying to James was I actually have a physical copy of this script.
Oh, okay.
When you mentioned the conversation that Slowick has with the movie star, with John Leguizamo's character, who is just called the movie star. And the line that you were talking about, because I had actually found it earlier and I highlighted it. Slowick says, "The memory of your face in that film and seeing you again now haunts me, drives me. What becomes of an artist when he loses his purpose?" That line in itself is, to me, the line that defines the entire purpose of the menu to Slowick.
Right.
Everyone has taken, he is now, this is what becomes of an artist when he has lost his purpose, because he is no longer cooking for joy, not Anya Taylor joy, but cooking for the joy and happiness of other people. He's now cooking just to be someone else's status symbol. Tying that into B movies and such, the short film that we just did, Screenshots, me and my team, Hollywood Hills Entertainment,
which has how many views now?
I stopped counting after 10,000. I think it was 11,000 the last time I checked.
Send me the link. We will put it in the show notes, and everyone listening should go check it out.
Thank you so much. There's a film that influenced our short film far more than it ever should have. It is a bad movie. It's called The Farm. And The Farm, it's, in short, The Farm is a movie about two people who are essentially then kidnapped and put on a human person farm. There are no
Mhm.
animals, there are humans. And they are treated like farm animals. Let the imagery fill your brains. It is done so badly. But it's one of those bads where it's like, hey, dude, I just saw this bad movie. Come watch this with me. You got to see
Right.
it.
Right.
Jason did that. He's like, Moon, I saw this movie. You have to watch it. And so I did. And I called him back immediately afterwards. I'm like, why did you do this to me? From that movie, and this goes into the point of how there's value in everything. And, you can get these same things that you value from this 3 Michelin star restaurant from the Greasy Spoon Diner up the road. We drew so much inspiration from this movie we did not like
Mm.
to make a project for ourselves. We, there's timing, music, some parts of the score. We drew so much inspiration, despite the fact that we weren't, it wasn't going to ever be. If I was going to equate this to restaurants, it was never going to be a Michelin star diner. If I equate this to wrestling, they're never going to be world champ.
Mm-hmm.
But there's something that this one will tie it to wrestling, because everything comes back to wrestling. This kid's never going to be world champ, ever. He's going to curtain jerk or be on the pre-show every time. He's going to have every dark match imaginable. But there's something about his work ethic that you can take, because he knows he's not going to be world champion, but he's still here. And he might be able to pull off that one move really well that the top star is like, hey, man, how do you do that?
Right.
And now the top star is taking that guy's move and is innovating and using it as a building point. So there is value in everything. And these people in this movie don't seem to value anything at all but their reputations.
Right.
And that leads them to do all kinds of things, whether that is being willing to die for this chef because he's sad, or if it's, go to this restaurant 11 times for the status. I mean, that's 11 times that you drop $12.50 a person.
Right.
That is $2,500 times 11, 275,000. No, 27,500.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a lot of money to drop just to be cool.
But it's not a lot of money to some people.
When you don't value money, it's
right.
It's not a lot of money.
It's not a lot of money. And I'm not sure exactly how he makes his money or how much he has. But honestly, if you're able to go to this place 11 times in 5 years, you're making enough money, or you're just making really poor financial decisions.
Probably both. Because
He's got a lot of credit card debt. No, I'm kidding.
Because if you want to be cool, like really cool, like Caribbean cool,
wow,
I say just eat an apple and stay home.
Oh my!
Well, chew an apple. You don't eat it.
You have to kind of spit it at people, but
because
I don't know if you can do that after COVID.
The chef said, "Don't eat."
Mm-hmm.
Savor.
Wow.
Speaking about the writing and the way the story is told and dialogue and things like that, Elsa's great throughout the movie. Until her final cut. But there are several lines that are delivered by her and of course by Chef. But this one line where she just leans in to one of the finance bros and says, "You will eat less than you desire and more than you deserve." And if that isn't a line that when you're not sure what's happening, that should make you have a fucking chill. And that should have honestly been that moment where the guy's like, fuck this place, we need to leave. Like that was kind of that was a little out there. But just the idea of this resentment that they all have about where they are in the world because of these people and where they've kind of driven Chef. because when she does that tour, she tells them like, no, we're a family. We work together. We harvest. We do this. We do this. We do this. Right. To where
they're in a cult, by the way.
They're a cult. They are a cult of the chef.
Mm-hmm.
And all I saw at that moment was if they weren't serving people, as far as serving people these meals, I don't know. I mean, they would have probably done some much more nefarious things, or they could have done some much more nefarious things than they actually do. But I don't know if there's anything that I'm willing to get that deep into where I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's all die together. Let's do this. Let's light this candle.
It's a crazy cult of personalities. When you have them all collectively
You're such a
gathered.
punk.
Listen.
Go ahead.
I was trying to think of a way of connecting it again and I lost it. But no, there's such a cult, but a cult of personalities, and that personality has become Slowick. Like we talked about earlier, they've removed everything about themselves, and they've just become. They have all essentially become the mess, a hot mess. If you're Chelsea Green, someone should go back and count how many wrestling references we've made.
I'm gonna talk to your manager, but I love how they explain it without overly explaining it. Like just saying, we live here, we sleep here, we do this together. At this time, we all do this, and at this time, we all do this, and dinner can go until this time, and then we just start again. And in the moment, it feels overboard, but it doesn't feel dark. And then when you sit and think about it, it becomes very Stockholmy, and it becomes very, we don't have a life outside of chef, and that's why all of this makes sense.
Right.
And I love how effortlessly they explain what could be the biggest plot hole of why the fuck would all of these chefs do this? Like I love that so much. It's so beautiful. And
it really is.
And
it goes. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. No, go.
It just explains. It goes into kind of how we talked about at the beginning of the show. The restaurant is such a high scale, elegant, pretentious type of place, and the movie as a horror movie fits the exact same role. There isn't a whole lot of blood and guts and gore. It doesn't. Okay, if you go into this movie completely blind, you're just like, oh, it's a horror movie with a restaurant, you're automatically going to think cannibalism or something of that nature, and it goes nowhere close to that.
Right.
Nowhere at all. Everything is clean. Everything is just elegant. They even went so far as to get one of the top chefs in the world as the consultant for the movie, so that all of these dishes are legit dishes. So the way that the people are in the kitchen is how they would actually be in the kitchen. The way that the things are set up would mirror a real life Michelin star restaurant. Crin, Dominique Crin is I think who they got. And so like it just goes to that level. Like if you're trying to open a restaurant and have it be one of these high class type of places, they've done that with this movie and made essentially a high class horror movie featuring even an ex Taco Jack.
Oh my God. That you worked too hard on that one.
I saved that one.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God. I was like, it's coming. It's coming. Where is it?
I do like that they do some of the stuff you expect, but not the way you expect it. Like when they cut off the ring finger of whatever you said his name was, we do expect it's horror in a kitchen. We're going to cut some body parts. We're going to stab somebody. We're going to eat people. Like that is where your mind goes instantly, and we get super sharp knife cutting up a body part, but that's it. Like we don't go further with it. And I like that there's those little nods to this is what we would do in the kitchen. This is what could happen to you, and use it in a horror context. I like that.
Well, it's even with that, it's the idea of when Elsa's like, which hand? Because he says, I'll handle this. Which hand will you handle it with? Your left hand or your right hand? And she's just so fucking cool as far as the delivery. And it demonstrates something that Chef complains about later, which is, why didn't you guys fight back? Why didn't you try harder? Like you could have probably beaten us and gotten out of here, but you didn't fucking do anything. And it's because these people are all used to other people doing shit for them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's at least what I'm taking from it. Because that moment when they do have that chance to escape, I'm like, why the fuck are all of you splitting up? Like it's the classic. You're being chased. You and your friend are being chased in the woods by a bear. It's not you, turn around and try and fight the bear or try and distract the bear or work together to evade the bear. It's, I got to run faster than you. And that's what I get from this, where you start realizing, even if you were sympathetic towards any of these characters, you immediately think, no, fuck them. Fuck them. They weren't willing to help each other out to get out of this situation. And they deserve what's going to happen to them. It's the same as volunteering somebody else to die for you, as opposed to, I don't know, dealing with whatever consequences there are. I'm going to turn this person in, even though they did nothing. I'm going to turn them in because they're an easier target, or they're an acceptable. I don't want to say criminal, but they're an acceptable individual that I can blame for this situation.
Scapegoat.
Well, I don't even want to say scapegoat. It's just the idea of, this is somebody that people will be happy with if something bad happens to them. I can't let something bad happen to me.
Yeah. Okay.
I like that Chef counts on them refusing to work together and encourages it when they do all the men should run. The women get to stay here. They immediately split every couple, like the ones that are, set up in couples. Obviously the three men are not, but you immediately cut the ties of even the people that you would help. I love that. Or would help in theory. I don't think any of them would help each other. But
no, because you got how many people? What, 6 couples, 7 couples that are there, or 7 tables, I'm sorry. But you got 6, 7 tables. They're all taken out there together. And there's only a handful of people that are going to be chasing them down or searching for. There are no weapons. No one's holding a gun and saying, hey, you got to run, or I've got a knife to your fiance's throat. You got 45 seconds. This should have been that opportunity where they're all, I mean, one, you're not going to coordinate because you don't know each other, but you're in a stressful situation, you're in a hostage situation. Try something. Because I honestly feel as if one of, as shitty as the finance bros are, I think if one of them had thrown a punch, the other two would have thrown punches.
I'd agree with that.
Probably, yeah.
They seem like they've gotten in bar fights together before.
Or at least gotten their asses kicked in a bar.
And I think Leguizamo would definitely hide behind the girl he's with while she beats some ass.
Yeah.
But I think she could. I think she could beat some ass.
I do too. Yeah, absolutely.
Just not at Sony, because,
That's my favorite line. That never gets old.
Neither will many of the victims in this movie.
Ouch.
That scene reminded me, especially the way you described it, reminded me of a lesson that I had back in grade school, high school, where they were trying to teach us about unions. The teacher gathered us all together and said, okay, everyone put your desks in a circle. So we did. Like, all right, now everyone stand up next to your desk. So we did. It's like, okay. Now everyone stands there for the remainder of the class. And the class was about 75, 80 minutes. And he's like, all right, everyone stands there. Anyone who sits down fails for the day. We're like, you're kidding, right? He's like, no, I'm not. I will put a 0 in the grade book right now for you if you sit down. Dead serious. And we all stood there for about 5-10 minutes. Eventually, one of the kids who just kind of like, screw this stuff, they sat down, and everyone else just stayed standing. And eventually, he did stop the experiment. He sat us all down. He's like, this is the lesson about unions. If you guys had just band together and everyone sat down, I couldn't have just failed everybody. Without having to say, go back and talk about it with my superiors. You guys could have all just band together and sat down and been okay, but you didn't. You guys thought about yourselves, your own personal grades, and that was it. If you guys had just worked together, y'all could have gotten out of this. And that's essentially what Slowick was saying to the people in the restaurant. It's like, you guys just sat here.
Right.
Y'all let me do all of this. You knew stuff was up when Jeremy sat there, pulled a gun out of his back pocket, and made a mess.
Fucking brains up.
I mean, that should tip you off that something weird's going on.
Right. At some point when it was just two dudes holding down Lee Brandt to get his finger cut off, there's three dudes at the table. Then Leguizamo, then the assistant. If you're just looking at the guys, they could have all just jumped up. Y'all could have flipped tables. Y'all could have all tackled those 2 or 3 dudes and stopped that from happening. And it never happens. They could have all run away. There was a boat still on the side. You could have had 2 or 3 people in the boat. The rest of them pushed them off and let them get away. And then have someone come back and bring help. But they could not work together because they were so stuck in their own views of their own lives, their own reputations, that they could not see outside of themselves. And that's why I think at the end, Chef made it all so clear to them. They're like, you all deserve this. Maybe I'm pushing it a bit, but generally speaking, you deserve all of this. And they've accepted it. And that's why I believe, like, Margot, in the end, she's like, I don't deserve this. And I'm going to find my way out. And I think Slowick agreed and let her go. That's why it went down the way.
I don't at all.
You don't think that's why he did it, or you don't think he let her go?
I don't think he let her go, and I don't think that's why he did it.
I want to hear this because I heard a theory similar to this. I'd like to hear where you go compared to that.
I think Margot dies.
He's Slowick's daughter. No,
Margot dies. So Margot orders a cheeseburger, and Chef gives her a very clear choice that she picks. I think he gave her a way out, and she didn't choose correctly because she chooses a medium burger. There is a scene that is so beautiful about the beef and what happens if you wait to day 153 instead of 152, and how the bacteria will destroy you. And if she would have just gotten her burger well done with some ketchup, thrown it at the wall, and eaten the burger, it would have killed the bacteria. But she chose medium. And if this is the beef and it's on day 153, which there's no way for us to know,
no way,
she would die. She gets in the boat goes out there, it stops. It doesn't have enough to get anywhere. He's made sure that she can't leave. No one can leave because if anybody leaves, the art is ruined. He makes a very huge point of explaining that. He tells her repeatedly to pick which side she's on. I don't think that that's the actual choice. I think that's the choice, but I don't think it's the way we take it. I think he's really saying you can build a team and they can fight back, but they don't. And she doesn't join the team. She refuses to help them as well. She gets out on her own. She does call. She thinks that she's saved them. But after that, she's like, no, fuck you all. I'm out of here. She gets her burger and then she chooses to get it to go. He doesn't know that she doesn't have a way out. She just doesn't to me. There's no, if this boat kept going, I would feel differently. The fact that the boat stops tells me there's no escape from this island. And I think Margot dies. And my final reasoning is the very last second of the film before the credits, as she takes a bite, we hear the clap. And if we didn't hear that clap, I might not feel as strongly about this. But that clap to me is one last chef going, motherfuckers, I'm in charge. That's my theory. I have looked it up. I didn't know other people felt this way. I
Yeah.
went and I looked it up, and there's quite a few that do.
I have
And
seen that is the fan theory that I've seen.
And the directors and writers have said that was not the intention. And that's fine. But I feel like all the clues are there. Headcanon to me, everybody died.
I can understand your theory. I disagree in the sense that he was so pissed that she was there, and he even remarked, it's like you're all wrong, and that his masterpiece can't exist because she's not one of the ingredients.
Yeah.
And just like
You're
Moon
ruining
said earlier, like when you substitute ingredients, you can fuck things up. So I think by having her there as a sacrifice, it ruins it because she wasn't a taker. Yeah, he did, offer the opportunity to like be with us or be with them, but I don't think it was an issue of are you with us or are you with them in order to die, as far as where you're going to die, even though he does make that comment about like you need to know where you're going to be when you die. But it didn't necessarily mean where you're going to be when you die because you're going to die with us. Understand where you are before your life is over and understand exactly the value that you have. Now, mind you, James, you are the English major. I'm the history major. So,
sure,
you're probably going to be more right about this than I am. But I see the boat as not being able to make it because it was a planned opportunity for when they escaped. So when you tell the guys like, hey, we're going to give the guys 45 seconds. If they got in the boat and gotten away, you're not going to fucking make it. It's a nice,
very possible
plan.
Yeah. For me, it just comes back to one writing rule, which is Chekhov's gun. And Chekhov's gun states that if you show a gun in Act 1, it better get used before the end of Act 3.
Okay.
And there's no other reason for this scene. There's no other beef that's killing anybody. There's so much attention on this fucking 152 days, 153 days conversation that for me, it's Chekhov's gun. It has to be used.
I disagree.
But they're talking about smoking meat. Now, if they have ground beef, like all the ingredients that they would have in that kitchen have already been determined as being useful. Because she doesn't say, I need you to go get I want smoked sausage and blah, 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 blah. She makes it clear of like, what can I have or what can you make? And said, we can make anything. We can make everything. It would have to be the ingredients that are already in that kitchen. And the fact that chef is making it is what really got me on the whole thing. I'm like, you won. You did this because you gave me one last bit of joy before I'm making this, going to go forth with this action. Like I'm going to give something. Somebody's going to reignite, no pun intended. Someone's going to reignite my love for cooking because these motherfuckers destroyed it. I'm going to have a last little bit of joy to make something simple before I make the masterpiece. And that's how I saw it.
Yeah, cool. I don't agree that so I've seen so many things and so many theories about the boat and how the boat stops. I don't think that the boat just stops. I think she just turns it off. I think if you're going to have the boat and the boat shut down, like it was sabotaged or whatnot, that would not be what she intends. So if that's not what she intends, her reaction to the boat shutting down would be panic. It would be worry. It would be concern. She's cool as a cucumber. Or I guess a pickle in this case. She's cool as iceberg lettuce. She's chill. I mean, more ice references can I make? I don't know. But
I know you could just say she's being cool. You don't like it when people aren't cool.
So taking from that, the boat doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if she goes home and eats the burger.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I definitely see where you're going with that because they do tell you in food service class that with ground beef, your ground beef should be cooked to 165 degrees Fahrenheit. You should never order a ground beef burger, anything other than well done, which in my own personal view, when people order a burger, anything other than well done, they're equally being pretentious. There's the old saying that if you're going to order a steak well done, just order the chicken, because you'll just kill the steak, and it makes me sad. It makes me sad when people order a steak anything close to well done, because you lose everything that makes a steak a steak.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to ground beef, and the explanation is when you have a steak, if there's any bacteria in the steak, unless the cow is just sick, then you wouldn't use the meat at all. The bacteria is going to be on the surface. So as long as you've cooked the surface of the steak, you've killed any bacteria that would be present in or around the steak. So you don't have to have the medium or the middle cooked all the way through. That's why it's safe to have a steak medium rare, which everyone should. With ground beef, if that bacteria exists on the outside, once you grind it, it's now mixed into everything.
Yep.
So to give some validity to James's theory, if there is any bacteria present, once it's been ground, all that bacteria is equally possibly present in the middle. And he may have known that the moment she said medium, but then what do you do if she had asked for the burger well done? That whole plan would have gone out the window.
Well, not necessarily. He doesn't know that she's going to leave with it either. He could have been giving her the same last piece of joy that she gave him.
True.
Once he knows it's medium, he can let her go because she's dying either way. Boom, lawyered. No.
But
I don't
let's
know that
be
I'm
honest.
right. Like they've said that I'm wrong. So if the writers tell you you're wrong, you're wrong. So I'm not saying I'm definitely right. I'm saying this is my headcanon.
But if it is food poisoning, let's just say it's that, it's going to take a little while. And it's something that can be treatable, depending on the severity. I mean,
seeps into your spine and all sorts of crazy.
Yeah,
shit.
but we're talking about bacterial infections. We're talking about meningitis. There are a lot of things that can happen. But the odds of oh my gosh, I ate this burger, I felt sick, and getting treatment. But then again, I forgot we're in the United States, so I forgot. Okay, I gotta get this line because when I wrote the note down, I laughed because it's such a great interaction. Because I think John Leguizamo's character responds, but Chef Ludwig he has his comment when he's talking about like why he's doing all this stuff. He gives a great explanation of them being takers and versus givers. They exploit people. They do all these things, and he quotes. I'm going to say this on this episode right now. This is probably one of the best uses of an MLK quote in the past 15, 20 years. I'm saying this because I'm trying to think of the best way to put this. I have unwillingly had to listen or read someone's post where they are, or even politicians for that matter, where they are misquoting or cherry picking exactly what King says, especially with the whole "I have a dream" speech. It's like, Dr. King believed that all children, blah, blah, blah. He's like, no, he said his children. He said his children should not be judged by the color of their skin. But the fact that he says, as Dr. King said, we know through painful experience that freedom is never voluntarily given by the oppressor. It must be demanded by the oppressed. He is giving you, in a sense, a master class on how marginalized and minoritized groups, oppressed groups themselves, understand what liberation is. I'm not going to be free of you motherfuckers until I kill you, because I need to take a stand. And it's not a thing of, oh, I'm going to have this TV show and I'm going to talk about how bad food critics are. Then you're just you're a disgruntled chef. Or I can't talk about these aspects of food, then I'm pretentious. I can't do these things until I stop all of you, until I break free from all of you. I will not be free until I'm cleansed, or until all of us are cleansed, for that matter, until we're cleansed with fire.
Yeah. It's actually so in the script, it is the movie star the John Leguizamo character.
Yeah.
That's it. But in the movie, it turns out, and I think it was actually one of those things where it's like, no, it should be him. It's the black tech bro that says, did he just quote King? And his buddy was like, yep. And I'm like, I think it was a better choice. It kind of highlights that better. But it does ring to how he killed Varric, because he felt like he was held underneath the investor's thumb. He's like, the guy held you out, he kept you guys open during COVID. And
right.
He's like, you're right, he did. And then he complained about my menu. And he complained about me and asked for substitutions, because there are no substitutions at Hawthorne. And he tried to get substitutions. And no, that's not what we do here. So I was trapped under him, but no longer. You have a fallen angel. It was the angel investor. And then he says, in that sound, that silence, now I'm free. And then I hope we talk more about Tyler's bullshit. But when he sends Tyler away after, Tyler failed at cooking, he looks at Margot and says, and now you're free. And so, yeah, that's definitely, I mean, that all really, really worked. It's like, you weren't going to be free unless you took it. Unless we make these people understand this, we are just going to be service workers. We'll never be of any value. If we want to have value, we have to demand that we have value. We have to take that value. And the quote was great.
Well, because the pretentious guests, they all base their identity off of what everybody else is. So I'm not them, right? So the food critic and her assistant, because I'm going to keep picking on them. The food critic and her assistant get their value in shitting on other stuff. Like, and I guarantee you, if Slovak had brought her into the kitchen, or the assistant in the kitchen, they wouldn't have been able to cook anything. I mean, not even toast, because that is what you end up running into. And I'm not doing the whole those who can't complain, or the other adage of those who can't teach. Those who can't, the ones who are critiquing things, in a lot of cases, they're critiquing it without fully understanding everything that goes into whatever this is. So they'll see the sausage, but they don't understand everything that goes into making the sausage. They will then complain about how the meal, especially when she was like, oh, there's a broken emulsion. And I'm like, who the fuck cares? Eat it. Like, why does that matter? And just to drive the point home of how stupid the complaint is, Elsa, brings out emulsions, like I think 2 or 3 times, like, oh, here's some more broken emulsion for you from the chef. And then she does it again. And it's funnier each time she brings it out, because you're pointing out to this person of like, you made a big stink about something so small. So we're going to give you something big to match the problem that you seem to have with this. You wanted to find something wrong with what he was doing, and there wasn't. And even when you're talking about cults, right? And I'll just pick fandoms, and we'll dip away from wrestling, and we'll go to sports. I mean, other sports. So you have people who, for the longest time, well, I shouldn't say for the longest time, because they're still having these arguments of who's the best, Jordan, Kobe, or LeBron. And then regular fans look there and say, just fucking appreciate that you get to watch any of them. Appreciate the sport, appreciate the game. Don't worry about, well, this guy's jumper, he releases like 2 nanoseconds before him, so that makes him a better jump. No, like, stop. You're ruining what's fun about the sport. And the same thing with like all the sports talk TV show stuff. You're ruining what's fun about it. What's fun is the story. What's fun is the competition. What's not fun is, well, the reason why Jacob Thompson is not having that great of a game this season is his mom just got put in the hospital with stage 4 cancer. And, he's going to have to go out there against the number 1 team in the country and put up 300 yards rushing and probably 100 yards of of passing as this play. I'm like, why does that we don't need to know all that stuff. I mean, unless you're gambling on the game. But that's what they point out with this interaction of like, you complain about something so small. That is what is killing this industry. That is what's killing what people enjoy about this. People want to make food for people to enjoy. They don't want to make food for people to grade.
Yeah. I mean, even I'm a foodie, and because I spent that time in culinary school, then I do look at food a little bit differently than most people. Mm-hmm. I personally, not because your analogy was fantastic, but I understand a broken emulsion. If you have ever had a jar of mayonnaise in your refrigerator where the oil settled to the top and it wasn't supposed to, that's a broken
Mm-hmm.
emulsion. And no one wants to spread that on their sandwich. Now, the amount, the portion that she had was so minute, you could have just ignored it. Or honestly, if you took your little spoon thing and you whipped it hard enough, you'd have blended it back together and it would have been fine. And she should have known that with the information that she has, being amidst all these, food experts through all the course of her career. She should know that. So these things should not have bothered her. It's kind of like if they gave you dressing on the side instead of mixed on your salad. Do you complain? I didn't order my dressing on the side. I ordered my dressing on the salad. Like, okay.
Then she'd have to do something herself.
Take the bowl and pour it on top. One thing, it's not worth the complaint. And I think that's kind of where you were going with it. Mm-hmm. Like, she's looking for something to be mad about.
Yep.
It's not that serious. I've seen the people who just like, I want to complain about the dressing. I'm like, okay, well, then just put the dressing on there. Like, you didn't need me to tell you to just do it.
Right.
Just do it. And is that something to criticize for? No, it's not. But she has to find, as a critic, as they do in sports analysts and the infamous internet wrestling community, they have to find
Never heard of it.
They have to find something wrong with everything. You can have a 5-star match, and the fact that it wasn't called 5 stars by one guy who does one newsletter, everyone wants to have this huge debacle because, oh, well, that guy didn't say it was 5 stars, but it should have been 5 stars. I can't believe this is okay. Calm down. Did you enjoy the match?
Right.
Did you enjoy the match? Oh, it was great. Okay, so why are we still talking about it? Let's talk about how great the match was and not how this guy took 2 steps instead of 3 steps to go rope to rope. Like, calm down. Calm down.
Bro, I think you're making excellent points, bro.
Thanks, bro.
So what you're saying is you really enjoyed the Logan Paul match and are glad that he's a champion now.
I am not glad that he's a champion. I am not.
Are you glad he saved Rey Mysterio's life?
Oh, Jesus Christ. He saved his life.
I'll take this moment to be fair to Logan Paul exclusively on your show. The fact that someone who does not have a history of professional wrestling has decided to take professional wrestling so serious that they learn the craft and they're able to execute with only like eight matches or so under their belt, the quality of match with the quality of opponents that he's had is remarkable.
Yeah.
Give the same credit to Bad Bunny. These
Absolutely.
These are 2 recent celebrities who have no business at all being as good at what they're doing as they are. Mm-hmm. I don't like Logan Paul as a person who has decided to do a thing. More power to him. I wish the best for him. I appreciate the fact that he was smart enough and knowledgeable enough to know when to get up. Rey Mysterio saved life. That's a Chris Jericho level thing. That's a Triple H Stone Cold Steve Austin level of experience that he does not have.
Real fast, for anyone who didn't see it and cares in the slightest bit, Mysterio did a flip and he was coming down looking like he would slam his head and neck straight into the mat. Yeah, he was going to spike
Mhm.
himself, and
High
Logan
velocity.
managed to just dive in and catch him. There's going to be naysayers who are like, "Oh, Logan wasn't in the right place to begin with," or whatever. Fuck that. I don't care. I care that the moment that mattered, he did an amazing thing that you have to have that wherewithal of knowing where you are, where they are, and making it happen. And it was fucking beautiful.
Like, is he the cleanest in the ring? No, he's not. And that's just
course not.
because of the inexperience. That buckshot lariat that he did earlier in the night was off. But
Yeah.
Logan Paul as a person doing a thing, as someone who appreciates the art, as someone who appreciates the theatrics, as someone that appreciates the mastery that is professional wrestling, I love that he has done as good as he has. Now, going into kayfabe and going into the world where everything in wrestling is real, fuck Logan Paul.
There it is.
Yeah,
Because
there
to me,
Lady.
the story should not be that some outsider comes in and wins a championship. I disagree with that as a story. And I'm supposed to disagree with that as a story
Oh,
because
absolutely.
that's the way it's intended. And when you go back to this movie, he's looking at like, we're eating. This is an art form. You know, this is the culinary arts. And these are foods with ingredients that should be appreciated. You've walked and done the tour of this biome, and you've seen that the people this is life. I deal with death every day because this is someone's life. You know, he questioned the Librants about what did you have at any point in time you were here. She does give an answer. Cod. He's like, it
And she's
wasn't
wrong.
cod, it was halibut. It was
Yeah.
halibut. And she says, this exchange is important. She says, who cares if it was halibut? And his immediate response was, it matters to the halibut.
Yeah.
Because if the halibut's going to give up its life for you to ingest, to enjoy and dine, it matters to the halibut, not to just be dismissed as cod. And these are the kind of elements that, you know, these toxic fandoms and these pretentious people ignore when they're either watching football, watching professional wrestling, or eating at a fancy dining place. Not everyone is going to be able to serve you. You know, I do a baked cod with a beurre blanc sauce. I can make a beurre blanc. I don't know if James can make a beurre blanc. I don't know if Don can make a beurre blanc.
I don't know what it is or how to spell it. So
Exactly.
I'm going to go with no.
So if you guys went to a restaurant and tasted some sort of baked fish with a beurre blanc sauce, fantastic. Now I'm going to be picky because I know how to do that, and I enjoy a beurre blanc. You're just going to be like, this food was amazing. I would love to come back and have it again. And it matters to you. Because if you're going to do it again, you want that same experience. You're going to want that same fish, that same sauce, preferably by the same people who made it. It matters to you. And all of these people eventually they realize where Chef's head is going. And they eventually realize that you don't appreciate these things in front of you. Therefore, you don't deserve them. And for that, you are now part of the menu.
I like it. You know, Margot doesn't appreciate it.
She got a cheeseburger, which
because
honestly,
she didn't appreciate anything else.
That burger looked amazing, though.
Yeah, I did.
So I'll take this opportunity to ask the question I have for you guys.
I would take the burger. Oh, all right. Go ahead.
So at the end, if you look at the title cards, because with every meal, it actually shows the title card of what this dish is. When it gets to the cheeseburger, it just says, just a well-made cheeseburger.
Yeah.
What would be the perfect cheeseburger for you guys? Like, what makes the perfect cheeseburger?
Well, for me, it'd be no cheese. So I'm out.
Your answer's disqualified. James?
A crisp outside. Grease. Like I want it to drip on my plate. If you're going classic with American, that's great. I would prefer like a ghost pepper jack. I like that bite with it. Bacon would make it even better to me. I don't like a lot of other stuff. I don't need ketchup. I don't need any kind of sauce on it. Like I want just that greasy beef, and with the cheese, and at most maybe pickles on it. And we're going like my perfect burger. We're not going what I would normally eat. So if you see me in real life and you're like, you have ketchup, fuck you. Anyway, so yeah, I think for me it's about that bite. It's about when your teeth hit that crisp outside and then it melts into the middle, right? Like holy shit, so good. And then I would choose the crinkle cut and not the julienne, but I might prefer steak fries. It would depend on the day, and I always love tater tots. I think in this situation, going for the perfect burger, the way I described it, I think crinkle cut would work the best. So I'm glad that's what she chose.
Agreed. So Don, if you wouldn't have the cheeseburger, what would be that like ultimate, just instantly melt your soul comfort?
All right, fellas. Since we're talking about beef, I got to put my beef voice on.
Beef cake.
I would honestly go with bison meat because I had a bison burger once and it was outstanding. But I would go with bison as the protein. Fried onion rings, because I want to be clear. If I said onion rings on the thing, I want it clear, like the fat onion rings on top of the burger, pickles, ketchup, mustard, lettuce, tomato, all that stuff. A bacon jelly, not bacon itself. I like that, like those bacon crumbles that are like in the maple stuff, like that on the burger. And then, maybe something to have a little kick, maybe some jalapenos or habanero peppers on it. But God damn it, now I want a burger.
It's like a Western burger. You basically just described a Western burger.
Don, why don't you fly over and we'll head over to Joe's Farm Grill?
No, I'm not going there.
I literally had a cheeseburger last night, and I had a cheeseburger the night before because I was watching the menu. I'm like, it makes you appreciate just good quality food. And I think this is why Margot lives. In the end, what she basically asked for was a plate of good food. Which, if I'm going to cook for someone, I just want to present them good food. My kids are great examples of this. They're in the kitchen with me. That's our bonding time. I have brought the kids in with me since my 12-year-old was 1. And that is where I'm the happiest. That is where I feel like it's a skill that's important for my kids to learn. And we get to share in this moment of cooking together, especially if we're making dinner. We're providing for the family together, me and whichever child I'm working with. And sure, my kids can taste a sauce and know how to reduce and taste it and know what the nape. If I said the nape, they know what that means. That means the thickness of the sauce, if it coats the back of a spoon. They know what that means. They know how to check the sauce and blend it together. They make their cheese sauces at least once or twice a week from scratch. My kids can make a roux and do it from scratch on their own. They do it regularly at age 7, 9, and 12 because they cook with daddy. At the same time, they love a good cheeseburger. They like a good bowl of macaroni and cheese. They appreciate good food, and they don't take it for granted. It all ties into all of this. This entirety of this movie is about people who don't take the good stuff from life. They take it for granted. They don't appreciate any of it. And this is kind of like the curse of, if you don't appreciate the things around you, if you don't really savor life, someone is bound to take life away. And that is what Slowick is trying to get across to these people. And I think he does it masterfully, like a master chef would.
I feel like these people in the restaurant really took the American dream and turned it into the American nightmare.
God damn it.
It had been too long since there was a wrestling reference.
Oh, damn it.
They eat, sleep, bleed at restaurant.
Well, some of them were lying, cheating, and stealing, I might add. Let's talk about your oh shit, what's his name? Tyler. Let's talk about your boy Tyler.
God damn it.
I have a question for you guys. I don't believe that Tyler has money. Do you guys get that feeling? I feel my thought is everything about him is fake. I think he's a nobody who ran up credit cards that he knows he doesn't have to pay off. He has nothing else, so he doesn't mind dying. And he either really gave her money knowing that it doesn't matter to either of them, or I don't know if you can charge this. I don't know how it works, but yeah, what do you guys think? Do you think he's a rich boy douchebag, or do you think that he has no money and he's running up whatever?
He strikes me as he's presenting an image for other people to, I guess, not define who he is, but he's presenting an image of not necessarily wealth, but of access that he doesn't actually, because I've been around those guys. I'm sure two of you have been around those guys as well, where it's like they tell you about all these great things that they did, but you never see them doing any of those things. Oh yeah, my family and we went to Thailand when I was a kid. Oh really? Where'd you go? Oh, we went to Bangkok. I'm like, that's a really fucking easy way. How can I verify that you went there? He's I don't know. He just strikes me as, because I think they mentioned this in another movie we were talking about recently, but he strikes me as Mr. Tryhard. And there's a reason why he invites, a sex worker, because he sees her as a disposable transactional relationship, to where, I don't know if he paid her before or agreed to pay her after or whatever, however the arrangement was, or just went ahead and cash after. But he doesn't care about anybody else. And that's very clear, because even when it's like, oh, she broke up with me, it's not like there's not a backstory to, yeah, we were together for several years and I was in love with her, blah, blah, blah. It was kind of like, she broke up with me. But what mattered for him was the fact that he was going to get to go to this place. He was going to get to eat at Hawthorne. That's what mattered, because then it would be a thing that he could tell other people about if this weren't an issue of him dying. But he gets to go there, post these images, right? Or hopefully post them. People see that he did this, he dies, and he gets to, live out in an eternity to where he was somebody who was part of a masterpiece.
There's a term for this.
Douchebag?
Hood rich.
No, even hood rich means you have some money.
Hold on, hear me out. I think
right.
Tyler is hood rich.
Okay.
Hood rich meaning, okay, so you don't have a lot of money, like Don was about to get to, but you have some money. And
right.
So you're going to go out to the party while your tank is on E. So you don't have the money to fill your gas tank, but you're going to go pop bottles at the club. Why?
Right.
Because it looks good for everybody else. And when you're hood rich, it's all about not that you have a bunch of money, but that you're able to show off.
Yeah, you have the appearance of money.
He may actually have the money, but it's not so much that he wants to be elite. He needs to be all elite.
God damn you.
And he needs everyone to realize that he's elite. He is elite.
Yeah.
I mean, truly, he's just a young buck. But
God damn it.
He needs
I'm
to
so
make
sorry
sure
to our
that
listeners.
he needs to make sure that his status is absolute.
Look, we have gone down an abyss with this one.
There were so many wrestling
Taking a
run-ins
downward
on that.
spiral.
I thought it was like the end of Nitro.
I mean, this could be the end of days.
Anyway. No, I actually really like the theory that Tyler's hood rich, as you put it. I think that fits his character really well. And also just I come back to the moment that Chef whispers in his ear, right? Like he gives Tyler this moment. Oh, you're so fucking smart. Come cook. And Tyler totally, fucks it up because why wouldn't he? And I love that he makes him like yell for ingredients and figure it out himself. And I love that whole part. But when he leans in and whispers to him, I assume it's, basically you're fucking worthless. You might as well kill yourself. And that's what he does.
Right.
I would love if it was like, you can leave now. Like you don't get to be here anymore. You don't belong. I would
You're
love
not
that.
worthy.
Yeah, like you're not even good enough to die with these fucks. Get the fuck out of here. I would love that. I mean, I don't need to know what he said. I'm just saying headcanon, I would love something like that.
Yeah, and it's appropriate that the dish is named Tyler's Bullshit because that's what he's been doing the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he knows what a Paco jet is. He knows about the alginate and all these different processes. And I could sit here. Okay, great example. I could sit here and talk to you. Go back to Beurre Blanc. I could talk about all these things with a Beurre Blanc. It's my favorite sauce. That's why I talk about it all the time. I could talk about it, but then someone puts me in front of a stove. It's like I have every ingredient you might need. You want to talk about Beurre Blanc so much? Make some. Do it. Like they put Tyler in front of a stove, and it's like, okay, you clearly love to cook. Here's a pan. I have whatever ingredient you want. Make something. And he doesn't go with simple ingredients because it would have been really easy to say, give me some onion, give me some peppers, give me some chicken and some chicken broth. You can make a great sauce with something as simple as that, or a great meal with just that. He didn't ask for anything like rice or bread, which would have been funny if he had asked for bread. But
that would have been amazing.
But he asked for these, he doesn't ask for onions, he asks for shallots. He asks for leeks. And leeks are complicated. I didn't see him wash those leeks. So I'm a little upset about that. You have to really wash leeks like in detail. And that's something that I know, and I would know to do that. He asked for shallots and not onions. He asked for lamb, not beef, not chicken, not pork. He asked for lamb. He wants to try to impress Chef. He wants to be a part of this world. That was by accident. He wants to be a part of this world, but he doesn't know how. He's heard all the things and he's learned all the lingo, but the guy couldn't shit in a pot right in front of him.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that they call it Tyler's Bullshit. Just like you said, he has been bullshitting all of us the entire time. He's not really that rich, probably. He doesn't really know what he thinks. He's just been on his bullshit. I guess the only other thing I would ask you guys about were your thoughts on the man's folly. I think that's an angle that in a conversation that we haven't really touched on. The story that female chef told and how he just like took his pittance for that.
Mm-hmm.
What were your thoughts and feelings about man's folly?
I think it goes into that one line he also delivers where he says, "I was a monster and a whore." So the idea of all these complexities or all these issues that he's gone through, dealt with, whatever. But it's still that idea of the power that he had. And maybe that was even the realization of like, he's done. He started to become one of those takers instead of a giver. And the idea that he's pursuing this person that he knows he should leave alone. He should stop with the advances. He should stop harassing. He should start doing all these things, and allows her to have this moment where, one, she's bringing to light what he did as far as like harassing her and pursuing her and things like that. But then also giving her the opportunity to engage in some type of retributive act against him, which is, stabbing him in the groin or the leg, really, but stabbing him
in the thigh.
And
it was the play back to that chicken dish.
Yeah. Doing that and letting you know, like, hey, I forgive you. But I think that was kind of cool to include that. It shows that he's not this pure person. He has done shit, but he's recognizing the stuff that he did that he should not have been doing. Whereas the others, have not made that atonement, have not had that moment where it's these are the things that I did wrong. Like the financial bros, their first thing is like, oh, well, we're gonna get him for this. Oh, he's fucked. Oh, we're gonna get, as opposed to, oh my God, we did some things we should have done with financial transactions. We should give the money back. Or just anybody for that matter who's there. Yeah, I would have loved for the John Leguizamo's character to get up and do some long thing about all the fucked up shit he did as an actor, all the drugs, all the young actresses that he convinced he was going to get him a part in a movie. You know, they never have this moment where they are truly apologetic for any of the stuff that they did that would have classified them as a taker. Whereas he recognized that moment in which he started to become one, or an incident where he was one, and wants that person that he offended to, you know, take a stab at him.
I feel similarly but differently. For
Okay.
me, it was an ego trip. It was, I'm atoning for what I did. None of you are on that level. So very tied in, but it also just felt narcissistic. Like, what do you care that you're getting stabbed in the leg if you know you're going to burn in a little while? Like, I don't know. It just
give that person,
it doesn't feel genuine to me. That's what it is.
Well, there are a lot of times, like, I know there are cases, I shouldn't say all the time. I know there are cases in which someone is dealing with some type of mental issue, whether that happens to be depression or they're suicidal or anything like that. But they tend, or dealing with addiction issues. Even if they know something bad is going to happen, they try to atone with that person or with those groups of people, even though they know I'm going to jail and I don't have to say anything, or I'm dying, I'm going to kill myself tomorrow. I really don't have to say anything. But maybe it's not about that person who committed the act. It's about the person that the act was committed against. Even if she's going to die too, it's still about, I want to go ahead and, you know, tie up any loose ends or to make sure that I've got some atonement. But yeah, I mean, ego is part of it as well.
Yeah, I can see that. I think it's more like if you apologize to someone who you know won't forgive you.
Okay.
In most cases, the apology is for yourself to atone for the recognition that you've done something wrong, and that in the recognition that it's wrong, you do your part, which would be to apologize. You know, if I had upset you guys, I may not be forgiven, but at least I would be. The proper thing for me to do would be to come to you all, come clean, and say, "Hey, I recognize I've done something wrong. I am sorry." You know, what you guys did with that afterwards is on you all. But for me, the appropriate thing, as I teach my children, you should apologize, because that is your part of this. They don't have to accept the apology. They don't have to forgive you. You can automatically assume that it's going to go back to normal. But your role, since you've done something wrong, is to atone and to at least apologize. So that's what I took from that scene, is that he recognized he was wrong. He recognized his folly, and and he apologized for what he did wrong.
Well, I don't have anything else. If either of you do, now is the time. Just kidding. Are you ready to move to movie Rex, or do you have anything else?
Our time is up.
I was going to say time's up. I was just going to say it's time for a change, but you know.
All right, moving forward. So
you guys
Dwan,
used so many references, I wasn't left with that much, you know.
Dwan, this is the part. If people liked this movie, what else do you suggest that they watch?
I love Anya Taylor-Joy in literally anything she's in. One of my favorite recent ones was Last Night in Soho.
Okay.
So I would definitely suggest someone watch Last Night in Soho. But for this movie, since the movie is all about the pretentious acts of people, American Psycho.
Nice.
It's
speaking of fan bases.
Like you can't. There's no other movie that best touches on the pretentious manner of people and how that can go dark than American Psycho.
Mm.
Beautiful.
Or
the
if
Huey
you're just
Lewis
like
album.
me, that's right. Or Whitney Houston. Or you could just watch screenshots on YouTube by looking up Hallowed Hills Entertainment.
Perfect. So I normally do a double feature here. I'm actually going to do two that I think would be excellent with this because I
You have a
can't pick
three-course
between
showing?
them. I can't pick between them, and they
And we
are
wouldn't
each
let him
my
to see
favorite.
one.
They're each my favorite movie that came out the year that they came out. So going food wise, Fresh is
Oh,
just
okay.
fucking amazing. And definitely involves somebody who doesn't know that she's getting into what she's getting into. So I think that they'd be pretty good together. I also think that they're both just interesting changes on what we expect from the genre. So even once you know what Fresh is, it still goes different ways than we would normally expect the way the menu does. If we're going solely the rich fucking suck, probably my favorite movie of the last decade, Ready or Not. I fucking love Ready or Not. I can't watch it enough times. And I feel about Samara the way that you feel about Joy. So there you go. Yeah, I think either of those would be fantastic with this. It would be a very different mood, whichever one you pick. But, there you go. All right, Don. Oh,
Well-
let's see. Hang on. I need the perfect number. I can't come up with a wrestling number. I'm so sad.
619.
By 316.
Oh yeah. What are your 619 movies, Don?
Oh my gosh. I thought you were going to say 69 in honor of the 69th day of the Acclaimed having the trios tag championships.
No,
But anyway,
I was going to go 316, but
I'm not a religious guy. So anyway, still one of the best promos ever. All right. So Schindler's List, because of how cold Ray Fiennes is in that movie and along with this movie. Would you rather Truth or Dare, Midsummer, because nice little fire stuff. Anyway, Purge the Purge series, series of films, not a television show. One Bedroom because of all the culty stuff. Pig, I'm surprised James didn't pick that one. Glass Onion, Five Nights at Freddy's, I Care a Lot, The Platform, which deals with a lot of, there's a lot of food involved. Violent Night, Barbarian, Nope, I See You, Knock at the Cabin Door, Missing, The Ritual, Promising Young Woman, Spiral, James's favorite Saw movie, a classic film with not a young Rory Calhoun, but an older Rory Calhoun, Motel Hell. And then the ones that I've added since we've been talking, because I'm like, shit, I can't avoid these. If you like the character, oh my gosh, I forgot her name. Elsa. She's played by Hong Chow. Great actress. I didn't realize she was in so many things until I looked her up on IMDb. Downsizing is another film where it's about people getting something they really weren't planning on. Ratatouille, Good Burger, and last but not least, Full Metal Jacket.
I'm sorry, did you say Raccacoonie?
Yes, Raccacoonie. That's what I should have said. The movie Raccacoonie with the raccoon. It's a rat. Let's go, Raccacoonie.
Anyway.
God damn you.
All right. So, Dwan, that brings it back to you, man. Where can people find you online, check out your film, and whatever else you want to talk about?
Well, most of anything involving me can be found on my website, dwanlhearn.com. I'm on all the socials as DL Hearn Writes. And you can find the short film that I wrote on YouTube. It's called Screenshots. You can either look up Screenshots or look up the channel Hallowed Hills Entertainment. They'll be there.
And what about your podcasts?
Oh, right. So I have two podcasts. One you can primarily find on my website. That's The Moon Unscathed. And then my newest podcast that's wrestling based, Moon Equals Wrestling on Blog Talk Radio /Moon Equals Wrestling, all written out.
Fantastical.
And when are we coming on the show?
Whenever the hell you want. The show is live on Thursdays at 9 p.m. And so you guys can call in, be a part of the live chat, however you guys want to be a part of the show. I'd love to see anyone there.
Can we like run in?
You can do a run in. Yeah.
All right. Perfect.
I'll probably blow a quad just walking over there.
Okay. I don't think your last name is McMahon, so I don't think the risk is that high.
Or Nash.
Oh,
Exactly. Poor Nash. Anyway, yeah, I guess that wraps it up. So as always, I am James Sabata.
yes, chef.
You want me to edit in a clap? I'll do it. God damn it.
No. I had to deal with that in college. I don't want. Oh, never mind.
And we'll see you next week here at the Necronomicon.com.